A California whistleblower was the one who notified the feds that something was wrong in California. The source that he's being investigated is not the federal government. It's not the Department of Justice. It's not the FBI. It's not the Attorney General. It's not Harmeet Dillon. It's Gavin Newsom. The feeling is that this is going to be a serious problem for Gavin.
Well, I think there may be some trouble for Gavin Newsom. And I'll be honest with you, when I first heard these headlines that Gavin Newsom's being investigated, DOJ investigation, I took note of it. We've talked about it before on the show. We've talked about it with John Phillips on the show. But you start digging into it, and it has to do with his wife's charities and things like that. And it just got kind of convoluted. And I thought to myself, well, that's the kind of thing they're just going to brush aside, and he's going to keep going. But people out there, Mark Halperin on Fox News, are talking about this possibly ending the Newsom presidential campaign. I just have such a hard time believing that. But we'll ask John about it. Joining me now, the great John Phillips of The John Phillips Show. Okay, John, this thing's been marinating for, a week or two now. Is this thing picking up steam?
A couple of things you should know about this. First of all, the investigation started when Joe Biden was president. So this is not a Donald Trump investigation of Gavin Newsom. This started out in a Democratic administration. The other thing that's important is that the office that's handling this is actually the office in Sacramento, meaning a California whistleblower was the one who notified the feds that something was wrong in California. Again, that's evidence that leads you to believe it wasn't Donald Trump that started this. In addition, you have the fact that the source that he's being investigated is not the federal government. It's not the Department of Justice. It's not the FBI. It's not the Attorney General. It's not Harmeet Dillon. It's Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom came out and said that he's being investigated. At the same time that this is going on, you also have two separate investigations that are going on right now in California involving Dana Williamson, who is Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff and enforcer, who is cutting a plea deal with the feds for stealing money from Javier Becerra. And then in Oakland, you have another investigation going on right now where the mayor of Oakland, the former mayor of Oakland, Sheng Tao, and her benefactors, her political benefactors over at California Waste Solutions and the Dong family, they're also being investigated by the feds. They were prolific donors to Gavin Newsom. So you have all of these power players in California now who are looking at federal charges, and they're willing to do just about anything to cut a deal to reduce their sentences if they have dirt on Gavin Newsom. If they know something illegal is going on in Sacramento, now's the time to drop a dime. And maybe they're doing it, maybe they aren't. I can tell you this, here in California, and I was in Sacramento all week last week, the feeling is that this is going to be a serious problem for Gavin.
Oh, well, that is spicy, isn't it? Okay, now you're there, you're in the know when it comes to California politics. I am very much not. I fully admit that. That's why we talk so often. So explain this to me. I'm from the outside looking in. I find out this investigation into Newsom started inside the borders of the Communist Republic of California. So that leads me to believe that maybe this was an internal Democrat takeout. Democrats are the only ones who take out Democrats. Republicans never have the stones to do something like that. Could this be Gavin Newsom's enemies inside the Communist Party?
It could be. Now, keep in mind, this came from the feds. Gavin Newsom had a very top-level frenemy in the Biden administration by the name of Kamala Harris, who was the Attorney General in California. Kamala knew that if she were to run for president in 2028, one of her likely challengers would be Gavin Newsom. Now, I'm not saying that Kamala Harris had anything to do with this, but clearly there are people within California who are talking to the feds. And I would also add one thing. A lot of people say, well, the Newsoms are rich. He comes from the Getty family oil trust, and she comes from the Siebel family. They're a very wealthy family. The Newsoms themselves are not as wealthy as you think that they are. The people in their orbit have money. They themselves don't have that kind of generational wealth. So people look at this and they go, oh, a rich couple like them wouldn't participate in a grift for pennies because they don't need the risk. They don't need to have the liability to go out and make this kind of money. And the answer is they actually do, because Gavin Newsom lives a very luxurious life. His salary won't support it, and they have to find ways to make money on the side. He's making money with his book. They make money. She has her non for profit. So the fact that the allegations, I guess, that are swirling that they were doing something shady to make a little extra on the side, I don't think you can immediately dismiss something like that as, well, this is a rich couple and they would never do it. I know that when you work in television, you work in radio, people frequently think that you make so much more money than you actually do. And I think we do that with politicians too. We do that with people who are in positions of power. The Newsoms are not the Gettys, they're not the Siebels. And if they participated in something like this to shake a few nickels out of the tree, I wouldn't be surprised.
Are we talking about a few nickels? How much money are we talking about here?
Well, the exact dollar amount we don't know because they haven't been charged with a crime officially yet. So right now it's just speculation. But what his wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, has is a non for profit where they make feminist videos and they can solicit investors. And frequently, these investors are people with business in front of the state of California. And then she turns around and she sells her feminist videos to California schools. And the schools have to pay for the videos to show the videos in the classrooms. So it's a nice way to for an actress to make movies and to pay herself a handsome salary.
I almost forgot she was an actress. I believe she knew Harvey Weinstein at some point in time. Anyway, we'll set that aside. Speaking of exactly that kind of a thing, you brought up Dome earlier, and she went on Don Lemon's show. Here she was.
I really truly believe this. We each have light inside of us. And we need to know that that is what inspires our hope as much as anything external to ourselves. And when we feel that and not allow an election or an individual to dampen that light, and instead let that light kind of carry us in particular through moments of darkness, that we not only act on that hope, but we inspire that hope in each other. And in particular at this moment, it is so important that we not only have hope, but that we understand that that should be a verb.
Couple things, John. One, I'm not sure that's light inside of Don Lemon. And two, my own personal horror at this woman leads me to believe that she's not going to run for president again, surely, because she's just so dumb and she doesn't have it and people don't like her. But you and I both know in politics, there are only two steps to get to be president of the United States of America: win the primary, win the general. If it looks like you're going to win the primary, you run, right?
I have no clue what the hell she just said. Every time I see that woman on TV, I think to myself, in her mind, Rombauer Chardonnay is a food group in and of itself, because she always seems like she's blowing a point too whenever this woman shows up on television. You're right that she could be the Democratic nominee for president this time around. We don't know what their calendar is going to be. Typically, of course, on the Republican side and historically on the Democratic side, it was Iowa that would go first, and then New Hampshire, and then Nevada, and then South Carolina. But they changed their calendar, don't forget, last time to make sure that states with a lot of black voters were voting first, because that's what saved Joe Biden in 2020 in the Democratic primary, South Carolina, and then a lot of the southern states on Super Tuesday. If they continue with that calendar where states with a lot of black voters in the Democratic primary go first, I don't see anyone in that primary that can beat her. I mean, who is going to do better with black voters than Kamala in places like South Carolina and Georgia? Pete Buttigieg? Yeah, right. Gavin Newsom? No way. AOC? Probably not. Shapiro? Definitely not. So if the map and the calendar favors her, I could easily see her running the table with those early voting states. And then what do you do to stop her? It might be a runaway train where the Democrats end up with an unelectable nominee the same way they did in 2024.
Okay, so I mean, I have to ask as we wrap this thing up here: Southern Black Democrats, Southern primary voters, if Josh Shapiro is too Jewish for them and Pete Buttigieg is too gay for them, what is AOC to them? Why would they reject her?
Well, if you look at Southern Black voters, typically you're talking about religious people, you're talking about older people, you're talking about people who are Democratic partisans, but they're not necessarily socialists. And so a more partisan Democratic message, particularly from a messenger like Kamala Harris, is more likely to appeal to them than the government should own the means of production, which is what AOC would be running on, as would any socialist. So I don't see how AOC takes those voters from her. Maybe I'm wrong because socialists have been having a lot of success in these Democratic primaries as these incumbent members of Congress run against them, and some of them are getting picked off right and left. But I just see Kamala having an advantage over someone like AOC in the South in particular.
John, as always, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.